What's up, everyone? Today is March 23rd of 2021. In this video, we're going to talk about the numerology of a mass shooting that we're told happened yesterday, March 22nd, 2021, in Boulder, Colorado, at a King Soopers grocery store. The date March 22nd, very significant, as we'll look into, here in this video where we examine the numerology of this event. The shooting was in Colorado, so we'll look at how this ties to Colorado Governor Jared Polis. King Soopers is a Kroger grocery chain. Kroger is the second largest retailer in the country behind Walmart. So we'll see how this connects to the numerology of CEO Rodney McMullen and a little bit about founder Bernard Kroger and how he founded his company by the numbers. We'll also see how this ritual connects to two of the secret societies who are responsible for organizing and carrying out these rituals. And then we'll look a little bit at American media and the show American Gods, which ties us into the eclipse code, as we'll close this off with some astrology. Now again, in order to understand the numerology of this story, we need to look at the CEO of Kroger, where this King Soopers shooting happened. And I find it interesting that the current Kroger CEO was born in the year 60, just like the founder, Bernard Kroger, was born in 60. And Rodney McMullen is currently 61 years old. This shooting occurred on the 81st day of the year, a very significant ritual number. The name Rodney has double gematria of 81. But the number 81 is particularly significant to Colorado, which was founded on August 1st, the date it was admitted to the Union, 8-1. Governor Jared Polis was sworn into office on the other date that can be written 8-1, which is January 8th. The date March 22nd even falls 8 months and 1 day after the death of Kroger founder Bernard. So we start out by glancing at satanic gematria, where we see that the city Boulder has gematria of 322, matching the date of the shooting, March 22nd. Now, 322 is known as the skull and bones number, and it's easy to see why. It's literally the number right on the society's emblem. Notice how Boulder, Colorado has matching reduction gematria with skull and bones, which in ordinal matches the name of the supermarket King Soopers, owned by the Kroger Company, which has that 149 gematria with English extended. We know the number 149 is significant to skull and bones. In the description below this video, you'll see my last video where I discussed numerology involving skull and bones, and that was when Bill Gates Sr. died on the 14th of September in 2020. 2020, relevant to skull and bones, which equals 202. Its nickname is the Brotherhood of Death, which is 220. So looking at these numbers, 41 and 149 in skull and bones, notice how this matches the value of the number 66. This shooting occurred on a date with primary numerology of 66. The word grocer equals 66. And this mass shooting, 66, was at a grocery store, 66. The CEO of Kroger, Rodney McMullen, sums to 66 in reduction. And think about how this happened at a King Soopers supermarket. Also in the description below, I have a link to my video on some of the king symbolism that's been going on this year that I've been documenting. And not only was this at a King Soopers, but CEO Rodney McMullen, his wife's maiden name is King. And think about kings wearing crowns. The Latin word for crown is corona. We're in the middle of this coronavirus pandemic, allegedly. Notice how king sums to 66 in Latin gematria, the ordinal value of eclipse in that method. This shooting fell a span of 66 days before this very significant total lunar eclipse that occurs on May 26th. And it was a span of 6 months and 6 days before the anniversary of the Jesuit order, or the Society of Jesus, as they are also known. The Society of Jesus was founded on the date September 27th, written 927. Notice the name Rodney McMullen, the CEO, sums to 927 in Jewish Gematria. And this shooting at one of his supermarkets fell a span of 177 days after the Jesuit order anniversary. And 177 is the ordinal value of the Jesuit order. Now, the emblem of the Jesuit order is a sun with the corona visible. The sun is an average of 93 million miles away. Notice how the name McMullen has matching gematria with the order, the nickname for Skull and Bones, 93. McMullen is a Leo, which is the only sign in the zodiac ruled by the sun. Every row and column of the sun's magic square sums to 111. McMullen has primary birth numerology of 111. But the numerology of the Jesuit order was established with Kroger long before McMullen came along. The founder of Kroger, Bernard, died at the age of 78 years and 178 days. The word Jesuit equals 78, so does the Jesuit order with the S exception. This is an organization that's built on secrecy, which equals 78. Rodney McMullen began working at Kroger in the year 78. And from the date he became the CEO of Kroger to the date of the mass shooting, which equals 78, is exactly 7 years and 80 days. Another significant number to the Jesuit order is 84, as when you flip the alphabet around, Jesuit equals 84, so does the Jesuit order, which is the Masonic wing of the Catholic Church, another 84. Skull and Crossbones has this 84. We saw how it was connected to a total lunar eclipse. From the death of Bernard Kroger to the birth of Rodney McMullen is exactly 8,040 days. The shooting in Colorado at one of his supermarkets happened 804 days into the term of Governor Jared Polis. But this 8,040 days is interesting for another reason. This is also 22 years and 4 days. In the alphabetic order, the Society of Jesus equals 224. Another very significant number to the Jesuit order is 69, as that's the reduction value of the society. Catholic Church, also 69. This is a number connected to pi, the words circles, and eclipse, both sum to 69. Of course, an eclipse is an intersection of the two largest circles in the sky. Rodney McMullen sums to 69 in reverse reduction. The shooting at his grocery store, or supermarket, which both sum to 69, happened 69 weeks after the mayor of Boulder was elected. Remember, this shooting comes on the heels of a false flag shooting in Atlanta. False flag 69, Atlanta 69. Notice how the shooter was wearing this vest after he was arrested, much like Dylan Storm Roof. Those two shootings were a span of exactly 69 months apart. And last week's shooting was 69 days after the Capitol riots. They even told us the shooter in Atlanta was from Woodstock, Georgia. And remember, the Woodstock Music Festival began in the year 69. Using the standard alphabetic order, Governor Jared Polis sums to 223, which is the other way you can write the date March 22nd, like 22/3. This is also the ordinal value of skull and crossbones. In Latin, the word Masonic sums to this 223 value, and this alignment is celebrated in English with this ritual as well. Notice how the words Masonic and killing equal 74 and 115. Well, if you measure from the date that Jared Polis became the governor of Colorado to the shooting that was in his state, notice it was a span of 74 days after the anniversary, or exactly 115 weeks. Kroger sums to 74, And when you spell super like this, it also equals 74. King Super grocery stores were established 74 years ago. That was in the year 47. The Masonic compass has 47 degrees. And look at the gematria of King Supers matching Freemasonry in reduction gematria. Now, something else that I wanted to look at, given that we just recently learned the name of the shooter, pretty much right before I went live here. And I noticed that, of course, he's 21 years old. Remember, the shooter in Atlanta was also 21 years old. This is a huge number this year. Not only is it 2021, but the word Jesuit equals 21 in reduction. And what really stuck out to me about this shooter, we'll look at his name in a little bit, but he's from Arvada, Colorado. Arvada sounds a lot like Armada, interesting for a mass shooting. But look at the gematria of Arvada, 47 and 115, very similar to these Freemasonry numbers that we're looking at right here. But this goes even further. Check out how Arvada equals 787 in Jewish gematria. That's the value of Freemasonry, which is why it was chosen as the city for this ritual. Of course, Freemasonry having this 139 value with gun control, and we'll look at that number in a little bit as well. So this shooting also aligns to Jared Polis's birthday. It was 51 days before his birthday. That's the mass shooting number in reduction. Skull, crossbones, 51 as well. So next we're going to look at how this ties into this television show American Gods, or at least glance at it. When we look at the city of Boulder, this is very, very similar to an ancient god in Norse mythology named Balder. And it just so happens that Balder, the Norse god, is being portrayed in a current American television series on the Starz Network named American Gods. It does seem to be the consensus, both in the community and even in the mainstream media, that the main character of this series, who is named Shadow Moon, is actually the god Balder. And think about the name Shadow Moon. We'll talk about how this is related to the eclipse code. Of course, an eclipse is when the Earth finds itself in the moon's shadow. Pretty obvious there, but before we get to eclipses, I want to show how this ties to past shootings that are related to the governor and the CEO. So what really stands out about the name Balder is that it comes from the word for prince. Governor Jared Polis of Colorado went to college at Princeton in New Jersey. And Princeton is another Ivy League school like Yale, where Skull and Bones is. But the reason this is so significant is because less than 2 years ago, there was another mass shooting at a grocery store in New Jersey. And think about how rare this is, a mass shooting at a grocery store. Well, notice how the address of that grocery store was 223, like that Skull and Crossbones number. Meanwhile, Kroger's CEO went to the school at the University of Kentucky. And back in 2018, there was a mass shooting at a high school in Kentucky. And we'll look at how that event was aligned with the numbers of the Jesuit order. So first, looking at the Skull and Bones riddle, that was the grocery store shooting from 2019. It was at a kosher supermarket, which equals 223, just like the address that this kosher supermarket was located. Skull and Crossbones 223 and 263, just like Jersey City, New Jersey, where this shooting happened. Now, in that story, the name of the shooter at JC Supermarket was David Anderson. And see how JC and David Anderson both have the same gematria as Skull and Bones? The only number to sum to 99 in the alphabetic order is 13, which matches groceries. These two shootings were 66 weeks and 6 days apart. And another unique detail that they share is that police officers were killed in both of these shootings, which tends to be kind of rare, right? We don't see it happen too often. Now, if we include the end date, these two shootings at the supermarkets were a span of 67 weeks apart. This is a number connected to the total solar eclipse blood sacrifice code. The name of the shooter sums to 67 with the S exception. And now think about the shooter in yesterday's event. His name sums to the 67th prime number, and his name was revealed on a date with primary numerology of 67. So this shooting in New Jersey was aligned with the governor of New Jersey. In my post back from late 2019, I pointed out how it was 116 days after his birthday, Governor Phil Murphy 116. He was sworn in on January 16th. But look how well the number 116 lines up with Skull and Bones. Not only does Skull and Crossbones 322 have this gematria, remember this is an upside down 911, but the number 116 has the same gematria as Skull and Bones in ordinal, no matter how you write it. And 116, an interesting number, right? The name Jesus equals the same as 116. A lot of people believe that Jesus was born on 9/11, which makes this connection pretty intriguing as well, but that's for another video. So next we'll look at this shooting from Kentucky, which is connected to the CEO. Rodney McMullen, his last name sums to 123, matching the order. This shooting at Kentucky's Marshall High School was on 123, and the perpetrator of that shooting was named Gabriel Parker, whose name equals 123. The names of the victims, when added, had 123 gematria. This is a number connected to conspiracy. And they really love this word, conspiracy, because conspiracy has the same gematria as the Jesuit order, which in and of itself is a giant conspiracy. The names of the victims, their full names, having this value. And this was such a weird shooting. You know, this girl Bailey, her mom's name was Secret. What kind of name is Secret? Meanwhile, the other victim, his last name was Cope. And his parents were shown on television coping pretty well with his death by not crying or shedding any tears. So that shooting in Kentucky was at Marshall County High School. Marshall County matches Society of Jesus. It was in Benton, Kentucky, which matches Jesuit Order. Benton is a suburb of Draftonville, Kentucky, which matches the Society of Jesus. And Draftonville, Kentucky matches Catholic Church. Furthermore, the 69 is shared by the name of the shooter, Gabriel Parker, 69 like the Jesuit Order. Remember the 84 was also significant. Gabriel Parker, 84. The Jesuit Order, 84. Jesuit, the Catholic Church, 84. The shooting was at Marshall High School, 84. The shooter was Gabe Parker, 84, ordinal. That shooter named Parker was 39 days before his 3-3 birthday. The name Parker, 39 and 33. Also, Parker is 69, matching this riddle as well. The name of the victims matched the Jesuit order, and notice how their names also equal 165. Like mass shooting, the Catholic Church. This mass shooting, which I messed up the date on, this mass shooting was on January 23rd, 2018. It was exactly 165 weeks before this other one in Colorado. So for the next part of this, we're going to look at the eclipse code. And again, Boulder, Balder, the Norse god who is portrayed on the show American Gods. And Balder is portrayed by a character named Shadow Moon. So this is once again 100% proof that the eclipse code is very relevant to the occult that's staging these events. I like how grocery store matches eclipse in several languages. But remember, Boulder equals 322, like the date of the shooting, 322. The television show American Gods debuted 3 months and 22 days before the first Great American Eclipse, the moon shadow, remember. Now, if you measure to the date of the Boulder shooting from the debut of Boulder, notice how it's the 224th prime number of days. This second eclipse is in the year 2024. And remember this number, connecting the Kroger CEOs like the Society of Jesus. If you measure from each Great American Eclipse to the date of this Boulder, Colorado shooting, you get some really interesting numbers. Notice how it's 1,309 or 1,310 days after the first. And then it's exactly 159 weeks before the second. Notice the values of gun control, 139 and 131, just like the number of days to the eclipse. Meanwhile, mass shooting equals 159. And Rodney McMullen, by the way, his birthday leaves 159 days in the year. So for anyone who still thinks they're not coming for the guns, stop saying that, because they are. And you got a president, Congress, and House who all wants to ban assault rifles. So how appropriate, how perfect that we get a shooting from someone carrying an AR-15. What someone also mentioned about this story is that one of the victims was asking for donations for Foundation for Gun Rights. So now gun owners are like, oh, or they're supposed to feel like, wow, I can even die in a mass shooting. But these events are actually far, far more rare than we're led on to believe. Now, again, this mass shooting number, 159, this is no coincidence. Again, this shooting was in Boulder, Colorado. And Colorado is a CIA hotbed for activity like this. Remember how we had the Columbine shooting in Colorado? We also had the Aurora Batman shooting in Colorado. Those two mass shootings were exactly 159 months apart. Measuring to the next total solar eclipse, the only one of the year 2021, we find that this shooting fell exactly 257 days before this event. Total solar eclipse 257, just like blood sacrifice. Now, there's only one date that can be extrapolated from the digits 257. That would be the 25th of July. The 25th of July is the birthday of Rodney McMullen, the CEO of Kroger. This shooting was 7 months and 25 days after his 7/25 birthday. There's also some loose connections to the most recent eclipse this past December, which I'll wrap this video up with. The shooting at King Soopers was 3 months and 8 days after this eclipse. And this is an eclipse number in the Hebrew language. Colorado equals 38, and Colorado was the 38th state admitted to the Union. Their current governor, his name is Jared, which equals 38. 38, a primary number in death and killing rituals, as you can see in this table. And the film Murder by Numbers even snuck the number 38 right there under your nose in the poster. So with that, that'll wrap the video up. Thanks to everybody for tuning in, whether you're watching live or archived. Again, all my work is free to share, and everyone is encouraged to do so. To anybody who you think might be ready to wake up to this matrix that we're living under, this mind control society that they've built, all for the hopes of gaining more and more control over the population while reducing it in the process. All right, guys. Peace, love, God bless. We'll talk to you next time. See ya.